Let's bring in Time Magazine White House reporter Zeke Miller. He interviewed President Trump for this week's cover story titled After Hours in the White House. Zeke, great interview, great get. Before we get to the news of the day, let's talk about this interview with the president. How did it come about, and what were your key takeaways after spending some time with him inside the White House?
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. This came about as we were talking to the Trump team about how to mark the first 100 days, and we couldn't quite come up with an idea that worked. And we went to them and said, the president, famously doesn't sleep very much. He spends, 10, 11 hours a day in the West Wing. So what does he do with the rest of his time? Let's get a peek behind that curtain. And so they were nice enough to let us into the residence, and we were able to talk to the president on Monday night and get a sense of how he lives, how he consumes the media, especially how he interacts with the staff around, the people around him, how he all of that. How he spends basically the half of his day that isn't in the office, but he's still acting as president. And what was striking was sort of certainly the sense of grievance and of how he's the tension internally within him between wanting to be loved and wanting to fight. When both with the press, with political opponents, with political allies at times. Why don't they like me is a sort of a common refrain through talking to him. And then at the same time, he sort of offers the answer to that as well, where if he feels he's been punched, he wants to punch back.
Oh, that is fascinating. While you were with him, he was watching clips of Monday's Senate hearing with Sally Yates and James Clapper. Can you describe what that was like and just how he reacted to what he was seeing?
Yeah, it was a surreal experience. We walked into the Oval Office and he said, "Oh, I have something to show you in the private dining room, which is just down the hall from the Oval, where he's installed a 60-inch TV screen with TiVo, so he can record a whole bunch of cable news and hearings and then play it all back." And that's what he was doing with this Clapper and Yates testimony from Monday. And he was doing color commentary, much like you might see a play-by-play, watching football. That isn't that a good answer? That was a great question from Senator Grassley. And then when the witnesses were sort of saying that when James Clapper testified that he had unmasked either a member of Congress or somebody around Trump, he said, "Gotcha, they're choking." Sort of, it was a very interesting experience, a window into how the president consumes what's going on, sort of in Washington every day.
I hope that you talked to him about CBSN and told him that he should program that on his Roku. But also the piece you cite a senior White House official who outlined the 3 rules of Trump. When you're right, you fight. Controversy elevates the message, and never apologize. And that's a strategy I think we're seeing right now with James Comey. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. There's, we've seen this throughout, Donald Trump's entire political and also professional career. The sense of of controversy, of conflict, is something to be courted, and it's not something to push to the side to try to stem. He sees certainly this fight over Director Comey. I think they're surprised by just the intensity of this one right now, but certainly the president decided he was done with Director Comey, wanted him out, and was willing to bear the consequences of that. He's not somebody to shy away from taking an action because the political consequences, in this case, are potentially could lead to a special prosecutor. He's wants to fight when he believes he's in the right, doesn't listen to his advisors at times when they tell him maybe you can go a different direction. I think we're seeing sort of some of those rules of Trump play out just this week.
And you also asked the president if he thought the White House was too combative, and he conceded that he thought it was. What do you make of that, and what was your takeaway?
I think that's part of that internal tension within the president. He wants, he wants everyone to be, happy-go-lucky and get along with him. At the end of the day, the key desire, talking to some people around him for this story, was, the thing that consumes him all the time is he wants history to remember him as a great president, just the same way that he wants history to remember his buildings as being great, whether it be Trump Tower, or the Trump Hotel, or Mar-a-Lago, and he's consumed both with history and then also that first draft, the daily news, and there's an element of tension where if he sees a story he doesn't like, he feels he has to push back, even though that might sort of jeopardize his long-term goal.
Zeke Miller of Time, a great story. Thank you so much for sharing it with us. That was amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.